evening and welcome to Manchester United Brothers podcasts. Here with your host Curtis McClements, joined as always by my co-host and brother in arms and brother in life, Thomas. How are we, Thomas?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks, mate. I'm all right. Couple of beers and a few whiskies, and it's made
All
life a
right.
little bit easier to deal with this evening.
Good, good. Thomas is on the 12 Conor McGregor gear. Is that what it is?
That's
Is
exactly
that
what it is, mate.
courtesy of Lee McClements, our big
It
brother?
was courtesy of Lee McClements. It jumped on the phase about a year ago, and then didn't really drink too much of it. But after days like today and matches like that, I needed something to take the edge off. So
Uh,
I'm on that this evening.
It's quite funny. So a couple of things. I've had over the weekend. I've had a couple of conversations. We had a wee boys poker night there last night. All on Zoom. Don't panic, anybody. There was no gathering in anyone's abode. Um, and there's a few chats just about different things. And the podcast was obviously discussed. So a few interesting views. Davy Morrow's view of we haven't discussed Wan-Bissaka enough and the fact that he's our issue in defence. So we'll get to that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I was like, all right, okay. And then the other one, Andrew Brown, let me know his son Joshua Brown. So big shout out to Joshua, who hopefully will be able to listen to this one as long as we can make sure we don't swear on it. But he's a big United fan, Joshua, and he has got his own views on it and saying that apparently United don't have enough creative players to create the chances. So it's quite a good insight from the young man, and probably very fitting for tonight's match.
Yeah, that is. It's an interesting view. To be fair, I'll try my best not to swear. But one thing that I had decided before I came on here is I'm not going to talk about Man United's defence or Man United's goalkeeper tonight.
All right, okay.
So,
We'll just not talk about Man United. We'll talk about
so
something
yeah,
else.
I tell you what, we could talk more about this whiskey. Um,
Yeah.
but I'll talk about Wan-Bissaka because we haven't talked about him before. But in terms of the Maguire, Lindelof, De Gea thing, I refuse to go into that. Um, but tonight it was hard work. It was very hard to watch that first 45 minutes. And did you say it was Joshua?
Yeah, Joshua Brown.
He was absolutely spot on. By watching that first half, he was 100% spot on. And I think the biggest problem there was, well, Fred and Matic, they're not very creative players in the first place. So they're going to hurt you. But Fred, for me, his job, and I know now Cormagan was saying last week that Fred, he's underrated and that, and I agreed with him at the time that yes, off the ball he is underrated. But tonight it brought it back to the forefront of my mind just why I hate Fred. Because his job as a central defensive midfielder is to win the loose balls, to get the ball off their players and give it to someone better than him. That's all we want from any central defensive midfielder in any team at any level. Get it off them, win the loose balls, give it to someone better than you. And he gets it off them, he wins the loose balls, and then he puts it out of play. Or then he tries a worldy pass over the top that goes out of play. And then he just gives it away. And it's just the most frustrating thing. If it's not in your, what's the phrase? If it's not in your pencil case.
Repertoire.
If it's not in your repertoire, I prefer
Pencil
pencil
case.
case. But you know what I mean? If you don't have that skill set, stop trying it. Because it affects it. Because then Bruno can't get on the ball enough. And if Bruno can't get on the ball enough, well, then there is no creativity whatsoever. So that was a big problem. Obviously, half the problem was that the depth. We've got obviously Van de Beek injured, we've got Pogba injured, and we've got McTominay injured.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're looking at it and going, holy smokes. See, because I know Josh is going to listen, I said smokes instead of another word there. See, I'm trying my best. What do you think about that, though? Is that a fair point?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I disagree on the depth thing, and I'll tell you why. I completely agree on Fred. Fred's useless. I know you and Pube had agreed, you and Mal, his nickname's Pube, you said agreed with each other about, his work off the ball and all the rest of it. He's tailor-made for European football, and that showed on Thursday night, because he gets that bit longer on the ball. So when you get that bit longer, you can then pick a pass. His problem is the Premier League, you don't get that time, so he panics. And it showed tonight in 4 or 5 different passes where he literally just played them out of play. He was like, oh, I need to move it quickly, boom, and he's passed it. And it's not like a yard away from the player. It was 10, 15 yards away from his intended target and straight out of play. He's just not good enough. And I know you don't want to talk about the defence and the hay and all, but that's where it all started. I texted you before the match saying Ollie can do one with that team selection because it's not right. Bailly should be playing 100%.
Yeah,
Henderson
but
should be playing 100%.
okay, but this
It's
is what
just
I think.
brutal.
What I'm getting at more point like is that I don't want to just keep repeating ourselves because if we look at this, apart from the Sociedad match, if we look back at the previous game and who was completely gone
West
blank,
Brom 1-1.
West Brom 1-1, and the game before that,
Everton 3-3. I know. Well, West Ham FA Cup.
there's
we
one
beat
in
them
between.
1-0.
Yeah, but every time we've talked about it, so there's nothing else that we can say different. It is still relevant, and it is still absolutely the case. But I just don't want to go over it tonight. I just don't. So what
Well,
I was
I'm
what
just
so
telling
the
you.
way I'm looking at it is, first of all, I got to give Newcastle huge props for that first hour of that match. They pressed high. No, bear with me. Bear with me. They pressed high and they put us under pressure, which every team does pretty much nowadays in the Premier League. And you should be good enough to play out of the press because that's what it's all about. We weren't good enough to play out of the press, and I think half the problem there is a couple. I think it was against Everton. Or it might have been, I can't remember who it was against. Cavani gave the ball away when he was coming deep for it to get the ball, and he gave it away, and they scored. Right
Yeah.
now, that was frustrating. But the point was Cavani was showing, so we could play out from the back. Martial wasn't showing, so that is such a big issue. You need your striker to come and show, and you need to have more people who are willing to take the ball in those positions. Fred and Matic are central defensive midfield players who only want to play in that role, whereas McTominay will drift off and go into little pockets of space here and there. Those two won't do it, so it makes it so much harder to play out. And that's why we kept getting pinned back and pinned back and pinned back. So that, for me, is the reason why we couldn't get on the front foot and why we couldn't get Fernandes, for me, tonight, not only on the ball but off the ball, wasn't as his usual energetic, enthusiastic self. He wasn't everywhere like he usually is.
So, yeah, he was getting frustrated and everything. He seemed to be in a real bad mood tonight. And whether it was because he was getting kicked and fouled all the time or whether it was because he realised he had Martial in front of him and anything he did was absolutely pointless, I don't know. But to bring it back, you're saying about Newcastle did well and they held it tight and they did nothing. They did.
I didn't say they held it tight. I just said the press as well.
Yeah, whatever. They did nothing, right? Because I tell you what happens, and we talked about this in the last podcast when we were having the conversation saying we need to go out first 10 or 15 because that's what, if you see against the lesser teams, you know, the Man Cities do that and then the team loses, they have to try and come out to get anything out of it and they get exposed. So we had to do that. You know what we do, right? And this is what's ruining us, is we make that many changes between each match when you've just won a match 4-0 and you're on the back of it, you're on the top of the crest, it's going well, brilliant. We changed 5 players brought in, right, that we know aren't good enough. The Hay shouldn't be there, everyone knows Henderson. But if you put the Hay in, I would go, okay, because he's your number one, you've decided he's your number one. I'll not argue too much with that. But the Bailly one has to be. That sets your precedent, that sets your tone. Then you're talking about looking further up the pitch. He took Greenwood out. He took Mason Greenwood out, who is has been our best attacker for the last 4 or 5 matches, and our best attacking striker, so we'll say, because Bruno's obviously played well in a number of them. And we took him out. And when he came on, he demonstrated why he's been that best one. Because he gets the ball, he wants it, his movement was brilliant. His energy alone, it just gives you that, right, he's up for it, he wants it. You know, he might have lost the ball a few times, but he went straight back to win it back. We chopped and changed all of that again. Now, yes, McTominay was injured, okay. For me, then, you don't go them 2 defensive midfielders. Don't put your hand up to me.
No, I'm saying 5 players injured. McTominay, Pogba, Van de Beek, Cavani,
but from midweek it's one.
That doesn't count.
From midweek it's one.
All I will do is combat your 5 changes too. We're in a lot of competitions. Those sort of changes I don't think should change very much in terms of how we play. What I would say is Daniel James absolutely, from his performance on Thursday night, deserved to play on the right.
Oh, yeah.
So therefore Greenwood could have played for the middle. I'll give you that. But Martial is the other striker who's seen as the number 9. So if Cavani's not playing, then I'm in total agreement with you there. But what I'm saying is, if you've got 2 number 9s, you play one. If he gets injured, you play the other in that position. But he was pathetic. I mean pathetic. If honestly, this summer I'd be looking to get rid of him for any type of deal, for any type of player we want to bring in. I'd be offering the Martial.
Mate, I agree. There's many years ago when back in my playing day, I'll not mention names, but there's a boy who was always on the subs bench, was a striker, and they used to bring him on, and you see when they brought him on, everybody in the team just went, "This is pointless. What are we doing? We're not going. We can't get back in this game. We're not going." That's Martial. When Martial's on, you're like, "Well, this is pointless. But we might as well not have a striker. We might as well do what City do and play with an extra midfielder in there who's an attacking midfielder and let them just move around all over the place. Because Bruno could play that position better than Martial plays it.
No,
So
I agree with you 100%. West Ham, mate. West Ham, everyone went nuts because they were saying about how Mikel Antonio will not stay fit and they needed another striker. They went and got Jesse Lingard, and everyone's saying they've done it wrong. Jesse Lingard will never do it. They needed another striker, and now look at them. Look at Lingard, scored about 3 goals in 3 games, played an absolute blinder today.
Yeah,
like it makes so much sense, mate. And that's don't. I almost swore there and got so angry because I would love Lingard to be playing in that position ahead of Martial.
But that's the thing. If you look at it, we let Lingard go, but actually he's a much better. Watching these last 3 games he's played, he's a much better option than Martial. Much better option.
Because he moves. Because he moves.
Yes,
that's all you have to do is move.
Stop moving. Yeah, I know. But the thing is, what I'll say is as I was alluding to, what we do wrong is that upsets the whole dynamic of it. I know you're saying there are a lot of competitions, but we haven't been playing well, and we haven't been winning matches. So we got a winning formula on Thursday night. So you go right. They deserve a crack at it on Sunday then. So. Yes, McTominay's injured. Okay, what do you do then? For me, I'd have dropped Bruno back into the midfield role and played Mata in front because I don't think Matic and Fred in there, they just slow it down. They're two of they're samey players, like you're saying. They play the same position, they do the same things. So that would have been what I'd done. Or maybe change the formation and maybe only play one in there and bring Mata in beside Bruno, in front.
But then we're back. Then we're back to the old thing that we spoke about, or I've spoke about numerous times, that he doesn't trust his defence. And then we're going back to that same argument of, well, then change your defence. And it's weird that we see it, like, we think we see it. I'd love to just have a chat with him and say, what do you see that we don't? Because even you mentioned it, I would drop Fernandes in that position over playing those 2 central defensive midfielders, because at least he will have a bit of a freer role. And I can only imagine, I haven't actually watched him play that role, but I was told or have read when you look into him that he did play that role over in Portugal and he played it well. And he's played it for the national team as well.
Yeah, I think he might have played a couple of times for us in earlier days, if I remember correctly. And he plays it, he can play it. The only risk with him is, it's the same as when Pogba plays there. Sometimes he's trying a ball, at times when you're going, don't be trying to play a pass there when it's getting cut out and puts you under pressure straight away. That's the only thing, because he's always trying to get the ball forward and always looking. But is that a negative or a positive? If they intercept it and quickly get in it, it can be a negative. But again, you go back to, well, then you should have a solid defence who can deal with that. So, you can him in hand and sort of say, well, what's better. But it can be no worse than what Fred's doing. Fred's just passing the ball out of play. So, Fred's just giving them the ball. Fred's just breaking my heart. So, look, for me, it came from the team selection, and I'm not berating Ollie, because as I keep saying, I love Ollie. We're second in the league. He's doing well with us. We're, by all accounts, we're going to be through the next round of the Europa League, etc., etc. But I'm not berating him. But what I am saying is, I think there's some loyalties he seems to have that I just don't understand. Lindelof and Martial are the two that you just can't, like, every single. Now this is how bad it is. Right? So I'll forget about the defence. I mean, talk about Martial, because actually that can dictate how the team plays anyway. So even if your defence end, if you want to keep it away from them, your striker can dictate how you play. If he's coming in, getting involved, getting the ball, popping it off, and keeping everything moving. But Martial doesn't do any of that. Jermaine Genius, who literally just talks absolute, like, the guy just talks rubbish. He actually said when Martial was coming off, Martial prefers to play left wing. No, he doesn't. Jermaine,
I know.
Like, Martial wants to play central striker.
At least know you're doing a job. At least know your stats.
It's so stupid. But anyway, but even he said it's no surprise Martial's coming off because he's done nothing. And it was, if he could see it, then.
But it's like you said, it's one thing having movement in the box, it's another thing link and play. But he would come back to link play and couldn't control the ball, or he'd miss the ball when there was a break, and I was just thinking, what is this kid do? Like, for me, he's got to go. His time's up. His time is up.
His time's been up for a long time. I don't. But I've said it to you before. if we're bringing him on, which I think is the only thing you should be doing as a substitute, it can only be on the left-hand side. There was one moment that I texted you during it saying who put 50p in Martial, where he got the ball, beat a boy and hit a shot, and I was like, oh my goodness, he's actually knows how to play football. On the left-hand side, he can do that. He can get at players. He can do that stuff. Through the middle, he doesn't know what he's doing. He just does not have a clue what he's at.
So let's change tact here for a minute. So we've won 3-1. We're 15 minutes in, and it feels very negative. So what I would say is let's change it. Let's have a look at Dan James. I thought Dan James was fantastic tonight. I still think the same as what I did 2 years ago. He needs to figure out his final product in terms of just don't take that little extra touch, just get it in first time. But I thought he's brilliant. His energy off the ball. See, that's the love. That's why I really like him. He just doesn't give them any time. He never, ever stops. He took his goal fantastically well. He gets down the line. He tries to get the crosses in. That's where he could do a little bit better in terms of just whip it in first time. Do you know what I mean? He tries to take that little extra touch. But in general, I thought he was fantastic. Thought he deserves another start on Thursday night.
Oh yeah, he'll get a start on Thursday night unless we decide to go with a lot of the kids, but he should get a start Thursday night. I thought he was very good. I thought his energy and his running and his pressing and his commitment was brilliant. I think he still lacks a bit of quality. There's a couple of times he showed it where his passing is just off. To credit to him though, he goes straight back and he won it back a couple of times, or he made the foul to stop them breaking away. So, you know, that's where he needs to develop, but that's not end product.
Who did we say the same thing about though, about 2 or 3 years ago? The exact same thing.
Who?
Marcus Rashford. He would beat players and then wouldn't do that last bit, and we just said that last bit of quality just wasn't there. But he was young then. He's obviously in terms of development is just ahead of Dan James because of the same age. But now look at him, and I thought he was fantastic tonight. If not, sometimes Rashford. If not, a few times where he was a little lackadaisical on the ball, but brilliant. Took his goal really well.
You know what I would say? Before we move off Dan James, I'll agree he done very well tonight and does deserve another start. And that was great to see that his performance on Thursday night was rewarded with another start today. And he took his goal very well, so you know, credit to him. And that was an important goal because, if I'm honest, I thought Newcastle were going to beat us at that point, so it was an important goal to get. But moving on to Rashford, what Rashford tonight reminded me of, and this is the whole team, was, do you remember when we were younger and we used to watch the wrestling, right? And
what do you mean when you were younger? I still watch it.
Right, okay, so you watch the wrestling, right? And remember the Undertaker would maybe hurt someone's leg or hurt their arm, and they'd be like, oh, that's a weak spot, he's hurt that. And then for the next 4 or 5 minutes, they would just work that one spot. He'd be hammering the leg, and he'd be jumping on it, he'd be doing all that, and he'd be going, oh, he's got that weak spot. Marcus Rashford got the ball, absolutely made mincemeat of their right back, put it through his legs, cut back, scored, right? And I was like, just give the ball to Rashford. Give the ball, let him go at that boy. And we did it maybe twice more in the whole match. I couldn't believe how, it's just so obvious that was the weak link in their team, massively weak link. Rashford had him on toast, and he did it 3 times the whole match. And one of them he scored, the other 2 it was kind of half done, where one where he got the byline and missed his drag over, and then another one, I can't remember what happened with it, but it didn't end up much. But that was it. Why on earth do we not realise there's a weak spot? Hit it. And you know, hit it for 5 minutes, right? Let's get him out 3 or 4 times. Okay, let's switch it up. Now go back to hitting that 10 minutes later, 3 or 4 times. See if it, I don't get it. It was frustrating the life out of me. Now, Rashford didn't have a terrible game. He took his goal well. But it's just, for me, I'm thinking, that is so obvious.
Can I just go back to the point you made a few minutes ago? We won 3-1, and it's time to stop being negative.
I know. Sorry. I've went negative.
You need some of this proper 12, mate.
I know. Maybe do. It seems to calm you down. But
it took an hour though. It took an hour for us to really play football. For an hour, it was the most frustrating thing, and it wasn't until we got that second goal that we actually imposed ourselves, and then they didn't have a look in. The last 30 minutes, I couldn't tell you if they had one chance. We just dominated the ball. We passed the ball around. We looked after it. Do you know what I mean? And it was just it was just strange. Like, it's a game we should have absolutely won, but we should have made it look so much easier. Like, from the first minute when they started pressing us so high, I actually got excited and thought they're going to leave so much space in behind, but we just couldn't get the ball moving. It was. Look, we won 3-1. I really don't kind of know how. Like, do you know what I mean? I really don't.
That's why I'm so annoyed. That's why I'm so annoyed, because you kind of go, you won 3-1, but it almost feels like we didn't win because it was just watching it was like, what are we doing? It's not like a match we won. But you're right, we did win 3-1. It's always good to get a win. 3 points puts us back above Leicester in the second place. I think are we jointing with points in them and goal
We're joint
difference?
points, yeah, it's goal difference. So
Yeah.
we've now
So
scored because Man City equaled our scoring record for the season.
yeah,
But now we're ahead of them again. So we've scored the most goals in the Premier League this season. Which, don't get me wrong, that's a really nice stat, but it's not important if that makes sense. It's nice to know that
it
we're
doesn't
scoring
matter.
goals.
Well,
You take
it only
Fernandez out of
matters
that
if you're
team
not
and
conceding.
we're struggling. That's a very good point. That's a great
Don't
point.
do that. Don't do that.
No, but what I'm
Don't do
saying is,
this
no,
take
in terms
Fernandes
of
thing.
if he got injured, I'd be worried.
Yeah, I know, but then if he get injured, Pogba should be back in a week or two. Should be able to handle it.
Yeah.
This annoys me. I get into around Twitter about some guy who said, "Oh, United are just a one-man team. They rely on Fernandes." All right, take Salah to Liverpool. Yeah.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
agree with you.
Take
I
Grealish
agree
out
with you.
Aston Villa. Well, look what's happened to them. Go to any team and take out their best player. Take Van Dijk out of Liverpool. They're struggling. You know what I mean? So it annoys
No,
me.
I
But I get
agree,
your
and
point. Yes, he
that's
scores
not
a
the
lot of
point I was
goals,
getting
but
at. I wasn't talking about in general. I'm just saying he's doing well. But yeah, I hate that too. It drives me insane.
Okay.
Um,
I'll let you
so
away with it. I'll
so
let you away
back
with
in your box,
But-
back in your
but-
box.
Back in my box, okay. But overall, right, I'll jump on your bandwagon there. It is a good win. It's funny when you've won 3-1 and you're annoyed about how the match went. I think it was just because of the way we played in that first hour. And it was frustrating. It was frustrating to watch, and it was quite because you didn't like at no point in that first hour until we went 3-1 up. I didn't think we were going to win that much. You know, until we got that penalty. It was a Stonewall penalty, and to be fair to Rashford, he's won that. You disagree with Stonewall, or was that?
No. I always think we're going to win the game, like I always do. That's just how it's built into me.
Even
I think that's the problem, though. I think the problem with me is that I always think we're going to win, and that's why it's so disappointing when we don't. Even watching it, even at 1-1, I still think we'll come back to it. But then even when we got beat 2-1 by Sheffield United, I thought we'll still win. And I probably text you that during the game. I probably said, "Yeah, we'll win this. Don't worry about it." But because
you're overconfident. I'm
well,
underconfident.
mate, that's 30, 34 years of watching United. You think over the last 7 it would have changed, but no, those.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You just always think.
sorry.
Well, I couldn't do math quick enough there.
No, but I was just gonna say you've got your age. Right
Oh
tonight.
yeah, I do owe
34,
you an
yeah,
apology.
yeah.
I do owe you an apology.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
do.
35, everyone. So that means
Yeah,
he's
and
not
I
38.
that
So I take that back. I
Oh.
was I was absolutely wrong. So I've just gained a year, which is good.
Yeah, I came off the podcast last and said to Kate, "What age am I?" She's like, "You're 37." I said, "I knew I was only 37."
I done the same today. As I said, "Am I 35?" She was like, "No, you're 34." It's like, happy days.
These women to keep us right.
You're not wrong, mate. But look, it was strange. But Luke Shaw, fantastic for me. He's England's number one left back right now, without a doubt.
Just would love him.
I know you don't like that, but for me, I think I'm a fan of it. Obviously, living over here, I like to see them doing well, unless they're playing the wee country. So I'm excited for the Euros.
No, you're confused.
Rumours have it pubs are opening here in May, so I'm very excited for the Euros.
Oh, wish.
Yeah.
I'll maybe get over there and go to the pub.
Well, you still won't be allowed out. The wee country's going to be. It's going to have Trump's wall around it.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But yeah, Shaw done fantastic. Wan-Bissaka, that's an interesting point. I think we can dive into it, but I'd love to hear Morrow's views on it more, so maybe we can get him on at some stage to talk about that. But what was his feeling last night then?
Nobody wants to listen to Davy Morrow. That's just facts.
We'll give him a 5 minute spot.
Okay, 5, maybe 3. No, he thinks Wan-Bissaka is our worst defender and can't defend. Which I was like, well, straight. I think it's his positioning wise is what exposes our centre backs quite a bit. Which was an interesting view and one I wasn't sure I agreed on. I think Wan-Bissaka tackling defensive wise is your best.
Yeah, but there's defending isn't just tackling someone, is it? I completely see what he means that his positioning is horrendous, but I don't quite understand how that affects the centre backs.
Well, he says there then covering for his the space or gaps he's leaving then from if someone extra's coming in from in that position where he's meant to cover.
Yeah, but they never do. They never do cover it because they always
that's
either
true,
score or something happens from it. So yeah, it's an interesting point though. It's interesting. His position is very poor, but we've been wanting him to be better attacking. and he's done
That's
that.
what I was about to
So
say.
it's a bit like
Yeah, my
it's a
question on
double-edged
this.
sword, isn't it?
Yeah, my sort of pushback on this. Well, if we're saying our wing backs attack and get forward, so is that, do you allow that for his positioning? Because he's going to be pushed forward trying to support the attack. So if he gets caught out going the other way, it's because of that. And I think that's the modern day fullback now. To be honest,
Mm.
a lot of them will be pushing forward. So that might just be Davy Morrow's old school approach of four back here, and he used to be a centre back until I converted him into a striker. But um, his old school centre back approach of my full back stays back here and covers me. So I don't know, but yeah, it was just interesting what he said last night to me. I thought, oh, all right, okay. So
Mm.
different people, different opinions. It's
You're
interesting.
not
But
wrong.
his positioning probably isn't great, like, but um, but tonight I thought to be fair, tonight I thought they did well in nullifying, what do you call him, Saint
Saint
Maximin,
Maximin.
not Sam Maximin as Janice kept calling him. But yeah, but I mean he got a goal, but that was just a terrible header. I thought away by Maguire, and then nobody was picking him up. But apart from that, he was nullified out of the game. Really.
Yeah, I didn't think he was that good, to be fair. One thing I would say is,
Yeah.
from watching their players, I think someone had said to me earlier, I think it was Dan Murray, had said to me earlier in the week that St. Maximin is a player we should get for a squad player. And I'm not a huge fan of his, but I'll tell you one player from Newcastle who I wouldn't mind having, Almiron,
Who?
as a squad player.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Actually,
he's coming in there to take anyone's position. I'm saying as a squad player, he would be a fantastic player to bring in whenever you're needing to rest a few boys, or you know what I mean, need to change it up. I'm a big fan of his. Every time I watch him, he's a very good player.
to be fair, right? And what I'll say on him is that me and Mike Carson had this conversation a few weeks ago, but it was probably about a month ago. And actually, I was saying, I can't remember what match we were watching, but I was saying Almiron looks like a wee kid. He's getting pushed off the ball. He's just doesn't. He looks totally out of his depth. And since that, any time I've watched him the last 2 or 3 weeks, he's actually looks like he's. I don't know. He hasn't bulked up because he's still the same size, but maybe got smarter with his body position and with how he uses his body. And he's quick. He's very, very quick. And he looked sharp anytime he had the ball tonight. And the last couple of games I've watched him was like sharp. So I'd say that would be a shout for a squad player. But then, you know,
I know what you're
why would we
thinking.
take
Like
him?
who's play, like he comes in that squad, then you're looking at, well, sure, Terry or however you say his
Yes,
name.
that's what
Does
I was
that
about
mean
to
he
say,
loses
the
his
young
position?
boys.
Ahmed, what's he gonna do? Hannibal when he comes in, like, and I kind of get that whole
Yeah.
thing. But the way I look at it is, he's played a couple of seasons now in the Premier League. Sure, Terry came on there tonight. The one thing that impressed me about him was the very first thing he had to do was track his defender back, and he done it fantastically, because that's very easy to switch off. But when he got the ball a couple of times, it looked like he thought he was playing under 23s, and he tried to take a man on, and I just thought, you've a little bit more to go before you can start doing that, because it's not the same, is it? Like, even under 23s are great players and everything, but it's not the Premier League.
It's confidence thing away. Has the confidence to do it, and plus if he watched Diallo come on Thursday night and do that, Ahmed Diallo, however he says his
He
name.
likes just to be called Ahmed now, according to the
Sorry,
commentators
we
tonight.
speaking to him. Oh, all right. I thought you'd maybe give him a shout.
Nah, not
Right,
tonight.
Ahmed. He came on Thursday night and was able to skin a few boys and look lovely doing it. You know what I mean? But slightly different. So yeah, it's a learning curve for them boys. But I think, look, we'll wrap tonight up then and move on to the Europa League, and because them boys will come into it for me. But I think tonight it is a good win. 3-1's a positive win, positive result. There's a lot still to be improved on, but we keep saying that. That's what. And I haven't heard Ollie's interview, I haven't seen it yet, but I guarantee he'll say that. Oh, we're work in progress. There's things to be worked on and improved on. Yeah, there is, but we can work and improve on it by having a more consistent team with the right players in, our best players, and Martial, Lindelof. Not even. I feel harsh saying Lindelof. Lindelof and Maguire together aren't right. But Martial is definitely not
Martial's
right for
not
any
right. You're right.
team in the
Do
world.
you know what? I think we've done well at avoiding the whole centre back situation as best we could, because we could have just spent half an hour talking about that. Martial, there's no getting away from it because he's pony.
Yeah.
Interesting run of games coming up, because as we were starting this, BT brought it up, and yeah, it goes something like this in the Premier League. Chelsea.
Yeah.
So we've got Sociedad obviously on Thursday, which we'll discuss in a minute. Then it goes Chelsea, Palace, who beat us at the start of the season, City.
Where'd the Palace one come from?
Yeah, it's. I think I missed it
snuck
last
that
week
in.
when I was saying it. So
No, they've snuck that in. That's been rearranged.
oh, have I? So Chelsea,
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Palace, Man City. This is where it gets real fun. Man City, West Ham, Leicester.
Leicester in the quarterfinal of the cup.
Is that what that is? That's a cup game. Okay, that's a little bit better.
That's
And then we're giving us a bit of a break with Brighton, and then Spurs.
Yeah, gets the Spurs. Look.
Well, anyone who plays Spurs can beat them at the minute.
Yeah,
but that's I say yeah, but that was because our best striker at the time was sent off.
Oh yeah, our superstar striker was sent off.
That's a hell of a run of games. I'm excited for it though, and tonight hasn't really dampened the mood for it. I think we always play better against bigger and better teams. We do, we absolutely do. So it'll be interesting to see. But let's look at Sociedad then Thursday night, 8 o'clock kick-off, Old Trafford. What I was saying, talk to me.
So yeah, we're 4-0 up, and this should be. What we should want to do is go and get a couple of early goals, win it 2-3-0, and then skip happy days. What we need is, what I would want to see and what I expect to see is obviously a few of the younger boys getting a run out. So the likes of Ahmed, I would like to see him start. I don't know if you start your wee man. How do you say his name?
Well, they were saying that it's Shoretiri.
Shoretiri.
I personally like to just look at it and say it as I say it. So Shortar.
Here we go. Shortar. Okay, I'll call him that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we start Shortar or not, but we definitely start Ahmed. It's unfortunate that Hannibal's picked up that injury. I was reading a thing. It could be a broken leg. Maybe I haven't heard any more of that. I need to find out. But that's unfortunate because he was looking really good, and I think he'd have been in and around the team. But anyway, he won't be. So Ahmed to start. Dan James to start again. Yeah. I'd give Mata a run out. I'd put Axel in at centre back.
I'd put Greenwood through the middle.
Yeah, Greenwood through the middle. It'll be interesting to see if he wants to give a bit of game time.
Did you say Mata there? Sorry. I'd love to see Mata play. Actually, I was thinking as he came on there, he's still such a good player, and he's done so well for us. I'd love to see him play that 10 role, give Fernandes a break because he just drifts around. It's his pace. Yeah, it's always been the same thing with him, but he absolutely deserves to go.
But if he plays a 10 and you've got quick players around him, then it's fine because what he should do is take it and give it to the quick players, and he can create that. So,
and I don't even think we need to win 1 or 2-0. Do you know what I mean? I would take a decent performance, get the young lads playing, and draw 0-0. I'd take that into. But when you think about the bigger picture, if you're going to be getting like Ahmed in, but you're the one who's moaning about changes. We don't want changes, so I can accept a 0-0 draw if we have these changes. We play an okay game of football and we draw 0-0 because it's done. It's done. We're through. That's what I'm saying to you. So you just got to think of the situation, not the game.
Yes, but that's why I do think the situation. So I'm not. What I'm saying is, you make changes when it's the right time to make changes, and this is not the right time to make changes. Today's match, Thursday's match is because you're 4-0 up. It's you should be through, done and dusted. So you're thinking happy days. Let's get these boys a run out now. But what I will say is, Celtic lost today 1-0. Just checking the scores. Brilliant. Celtic are atrocious. Real Sociedad won today 4-0. So they have goals in them. So we just need to be careful.
Who did they play?
I don't know what to call this team. How do you say that? No, sorry, Alves. Oh, Alves aren't a bad team.
Did Palestri score? No, because he's not getting any fucking. Sorry, Joshua. I almost made it.
Come on.
I almost made it. He ain't getting any game time.
So no one's.
Yeah, that's a good point. But Palestri's on loan over there.
Palestri came on in the 57th.
He hasn't been getting much game time. I was reading up on the loanee reports there last week.
Well, he came on in the 57th minute. But anyway,
he didn't make a difference.
No, clearly not. But the point was they have goals in them. But I would get Axel and Baye in at centre back, and then maybe give what do you call him, Williams a run out at right back, Tellez at left back.
You see, this is what I'm saying. You drive me mad, mate.
Why not?
Too many changes and we're not good enough because we're keeping. And you've just changed the whole starting 11.
Because we're 4-0 up, and this is the game you make the changes. This is the game you can now give them game time.
Every game should be like that because we have a good enough squad to beat every team. We're playing a Newcastle team who are fourth from bottom, who have been pants. Of course, it's the time to make changes.
No, it's not. It's not. History has dictated that that's not the case for us because we can't beat any.
History dictated that we used to win everything that we went into.
Recent history, should I say? Sheffield United, West Brom, Fulham. We beat Fulham in the end, but all these games were by we got beat by Sheffield United, we draw with West Brom. We can't play teams that are terrible. We can't play the terrible teams because we are just worse than them then. So Anyway, but for you're 4-0 up, you change your team, no problem. I don't know who you put in midfield. I'm struggling to know who you put in there. Probably Matic. I don't know.
If Van de
I
Beek's
genuinely
fit,
don't know.
hopefully he'll be fit so he can get some game time in there.
It,
That would be fantastic
yeah, I
if he
don't.
was.
Yeah, if he was, definitely he should start in there beside Matic or Fred. I don't know. Like, yeah, but if he rests Fred, it means he's going to play him in the Premier League, which is just great. But yeah, and then probably Ahmed Greenwood through the middle. Although Greenwood should be rested for whatever. So if you want to give Martial a bit of game time for a laugh and give everyone just a bit
I
of
can't
feedback,
watch that guy again. Genuinely,
put him down
I
by left.
text you halfway through this match and said I really think I've turned this off because I cannot watch Martial anymore. Like it's got to that point though. He is that frustrating. He's just not
Yeah,
there. He doesn't want it the way everyone else. We digress again. No, don't talk about him.
But
Sociedad.
the thing is on Thursday night, if you want to play him, play him. So then that means we're not playing him at the weekend. You know what I mean? No, there you go. You got some.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I would ring the changes. Just that's what I'm saying. Ring the changes. Get a couple of young boys in. Is it what? That's I still can't get his name. So can we give it a new name like Sam or something?
Sure,
Tari, right? Does he play? Is he? I didn't think he played attacking left.
He played at
wing
10
for
anytime
the-
I've seen him for the 23s.
I thought he played centre mid. Who's playing centre mid then for 23?
Oh, it's the captain, isn't it? Is it Levitt?
I don't know.
I think it is
can't
Levitt.
actually be sure now. Can't actually be sure. But because I thought maybe you could play him in there, but maybe that's too much of an ask.
It
like,
may well
for
be.
him.
Like Garner's supposed to be
Tough
the future
position
now.
to be
Like
in.
who's at?
Apparently he's doing well for
Yeah,
us.
because he didn't get any game time at
Yes.
Watford, did he? So they took him back and sent him to
There was
Forest.
highlights there. I was watching earlier today. Looked well on Saturday against Blackburn, was it? So, but I don't know. But that's it. I would do for Sociedad. I don't know if you agree or you think.
I'm always one for ringing the changes. I think changes should be happening. Not so much full rotation, but you can certainly change a few positions each game because we're good enough to be able to beat anyone. That's my opinion. Now, funny enough, at the start of this, while we were talking, I thought I'm going to prove him wrong here. So I went and looked up the team that played in between Juventus' first semi-final. This is the 98-99 team in the Champions League. The team that played Juventus in the first leg. The team that played Sheffield United, the Sheffield Wednesday the following week. And the team that played Wimbledon the week after, followed by the team that played Juventus in the second leg of the semi-final. Okay. The reason I didn't bring it up was because there wasn't very many changes at all.
See, I told you.
And Jesper Blomqvist actually played quite a lot of those games. The only change was centre back, and I can only imagine it was because Jaap Stam was injured or was suspended because Ronnie Johnson came in for him and played with Henningberg.
Ronnie was solid.
No, I agree. But when you see it and you think, well, it was 22 years ago, so my memory isn't as clear as what I thought it was. But yeah, so yeah, you could be right. You could be right.
Everyone seems to think that when we won the treble and we're doing them things, we changed all our team for the FA Cup and for this because in the final we started with Sheringham and we didn't have, but we started with Sheringham and Cole in the final, if I'm right, and then or Sheringham and York was one of them, and then Solskjaer came on. You know, the difference being then is when you were changing a few players, even Ronnie Johnson coming in for Jaap Stam, it wasn't a big deal because Ronnie Johnson was nearly as good as Jaap Stam. Wasn't as, but nearly as good. Teddy Sheringham, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
No, but I don't
good.
think it's about the levels that they were at as individuals. I think it was more about you have the illusion of a different team coming on because you had different players who would come on and win the game for you. Does that make sense? So Sheringham would come on and score. So then, whatever way that works out in your mind, 10 years later, Sheringham started all those games because he scored 3-4 goals in the FA Cup. No, he didn't. He came off the bench for half an hour and he was an impact player, same as Solskjaer. So, but yeah. Fair enough. No, I can see your point. I can absolutely see your point. But at the same time, I'm one of these managers who wants to keep everyone happy. And I want to try and get everyone as much game time as possible. And I can see games that it could work in. But look, we won tonight.
But it's not.
We won tonight. That's all that matters. I still think that the reason that we were so poor is because that we have no confidence from the back. That needs to change.
I don't disagree.
For Sociedad, I would do exactly what you said. I'd be happy enough for that. Before we do the prediction, actually, we'll do the prediction first. What do you think the score will be against Real Sociedad?
Oh, are we going to do scores from today's?
We're
Or
going to do that
last
after.
night's? Oh, sorry, right, okay. So today's, or Thursday's, Sociedad, ring the changes, 2-0.
2-0 United.
Yeah, 2-0
Are we
United.
ever? Are
Still have
you ever
confidence in
going
United.
to? No,
No,
neither am
probably
I
not.
really. Well,
Probably
I'm
not.
never
I
ever
can't.
going to. The
Maybe there'll be a
closest thing
match
I'll
comes up
say
soon.
is 0-0. Is the
Yeah,
closest I'll
well, I
ever
was
get
thinking
to
that.
going
Thinking
against
that.
United. You're saying 2-0. I'm going to say um, they were poor, weren't they?
Is someone on your TV telling us the score?
Nah,
Is that
but
your
I'm
prediction?
because I'm saying that I'd take a 0-0, but I still think we score. I'm going to say
Oh no, it's
3-1.
3-1.
3-1.
Sociedad.
Yeah. No, you cock. Look, you made me swear again, Joshua. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry, man. We
yeah,
were
I
doing
get a lot of stick for
so
swearing. Like,
well.
yeah, you ruined this.
Yeah, but
You ruined this.
you take it out of me. I never swear when I'm not.
Yeah,
The only
it's my
time I
fault.
swear is when
It's
you're
my
around.
fault.
Right, so
So 3-1 to United.
today's prediction, you predicted 2-0 Man United. I
Oh,
predicted 3-0 Man United. You
oh,
get
what do you get?
you
Nothing.
get 0 points. I get 1 point
Why?
because we scored 3 goals.
Okay, I'll
So
give
I
you. I'll give
predicted at least the closest score.
you. Yeah, your work closest. I'll give you.
So I'm 1 point up, which means you're one step closer to that skinny dip in the Irish Sea, my friend.
I still think there's a bit of debating about whether we should wear mankini and stuff, but we'll not debate it now. We'll not debate it now.
Well, we can debate it now.
Well, no, we'll wait and see who wins.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, it seemed like a negative. Well, it seemed very negative about the win tonight, but that just shows you that as fans, the levels that we think Man United should be at, because it's the levels that Man United have set throughout, well, the last
I
30
think,
odd years.
yeah, I think what it does is highlights the fact of playing like that. You get away with it against some teams, and we did in the end against Newcastle. It is a good win, but we've been exposed over that the last few weeks, playing like that and not getting away with Sheffield United, West Brom, and that's why it's so frustrating, because you can see the same format of the game, the same way the game's played out. Only yes, we've done well to get the win in the end, but it could have easily went the other way if we're honest about it. So that's the frustration. But let's not take away from it. Let's try and stay positive. We won. It's another good win. It puts us back second in the league. Keeps us on a couple of games winning in a row. We want to go again against Sociedad, and then next week it's Chelsea.
Chelsea next week, yeah.
So let's deal with Sociedad, and we will pick it up then on Thursday night after that match, and we'll have a chat and see how we get on, see if there's any changes, see if any young boys get a run out. And I guess until then, let's try and be positive, be happy, have a good week. It'll feel like a long time Thursday. It seems to take ages to get there. But until then, let's as always remain brothers united and have a good week. Good night, good luck.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Take it easy. Thanks for listening.